Hello guys! Welcome to Sissygram Genderbender Stories on YouTube. Today, I am bringing you a brand new genderbender story. If you like my voice, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for regular updates. Now, let's start the story. Alex stood in front of the bathroom mirror, gripping the edges of the sink as he stared at his reflection. The harsh fluorescent lights illuminated his tired, aged face, revealing the weight of 30 years spent suffocating under an identity that never quite felt right. The sharp angles of his features looked alien, as if someone else's face was looking back at him. He leaned in closer until his forehead nearly touched the cool surface of the glass, and whispered softly to himself, "My name is Alina." The words felt foreign and unpracticed on his tongue, and he added, "I use she/her pronouns." The silence around him was broken only by the slow drip of a leaky faucet, amplifying the doubts that began to creep into his mind. This was supposed to be a fresh start, a new chapter, in a city where no one knew him, a place where he could finally live as his true self. He could introduce himself as Alina without the baggage of his past hanging over him. But even as he stood there, doubt gnawed at him, cold and insidious. Was it really possible to change everything overnight? 30 years of living as someone else couldn't just disappear with a new name and new pronouns. He let go of the sink and stepped back, taking another look at his reflection. The broad shoulders, the strong jawline, the permanent 5 o'clock shadow. Could he really walk into his new job and convince his coworkers that this was the face of a woman named Alina? He ran his hand over his face, feeling the roughness of his stubble, and sighed. There was no going back now. He had already accepted the job offer and signed a lease for a small studio apartment. This was his dream opportunity to escape the soul-crushing corporate world and join a progressive tech startup. But it was more than that. It was a chance to leave his old self behind and truly be Alina. He had chosen the name Alina carefully, poring over baby name websites and etymology dictionaries. It meant to tame or subdue in Greek, and he hoped it would help him conquer the fears and doubts that had haunted him for 3 decades. Taking a final deep breath, he turned off the light and walked into his bedroom. On the bed lay the outfit he had carefully chosen for the next day. A flowy blouse and form-fitting slacks that he hoped would help create the curves he didn't yet have, accompanied by simple jewelry. Baby steps, he reminded himself, slipping under the covers. He silently repeated his new name over and over, like a prayer, until sleep finally claimed him. The next morning, Alina's alarm blared through the gray light of dawn. She groaned, her hand fumbling for the snooze button. 5 more minutes? No, she couldn't afford to be late on her first day. With a sense of urgency, she pulled herself out of bed, the sheets tangled around her legs. She went through her morning routine in the bathroom, avoiding the mirror as she got ready. Only when she was fully dressed did she dare glance at her reflection. The blouse draped over her frame, giving her a more feminine silhouette. And her makeup, after a lot of practice, seemed to add a subtle touch of color. Her dark hair nearly brushed her shoulders. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, trying to inject confidence into her voice, even though she didn't feel it. "You're Alina now. Own it." But her heart raced as she grabbed her bag and coffee mug for the bus ride to her new office. As the bus jostled along, Alina rehearsed her introduction in her mind. Should she mention her pronouns immediately, or wait to see how progressive the company really was? Coming out to each R was one thing, but facing a group of strangers was another. Her palms were clammy, and sweat beaded along her hairline as the bus pulled up to her stop. The lobby of the converted warehouse building was bustling when she arrived. As she approached the front desk, she opened her mouth to introduce herself to the receptionist, but found herself unable to speak. The name she had carefully chosen suddenly felt cumbersome on her tongue. The receptionist raised an eyebrow. "Can I help you?" she asked, glancing at Alina's ID badge. "Alex, right? They're expecting you on the 3rd floor." Alina swallowed hard. This was her chance to announce her new identity. With a brief pause, she corrected herself. "Actually, it's Alina. I go by Alina now, and I use she pronouns." The receptionist blinked before her professional mask slipped back into place. "Of course, my apologies. Your badge will be updated." Alina clipped the new badge to her blouse with a tight smile, one introduction down, as she navigated the sprawling office space filled with open desks and glass-walled offices. She finally found her own office and stepped inside. Her pulse quickened as several heads turned toward her. "Hi, everyone," she greeted, her voice shaky. "I'm Alina, the new cloud migration specialist." A lanky guy with thick glasses and a Star Trek shirt stood up and smiled warmly. "Hey, Alina. Great to have you on board," he said, extending his hand. "I'm Maxim, one of the infrastructure leads. Let me introduce you to the team." As Maxim led her around the room, Alina felt the tension in her chest begin to loosen. No one made any negative comments when she stated her name and pronouns. No one laughed or raised an eyebrow. Maybe, just maybe, she could do this. Maybe she could finally be herself here. Settling into her new desk, she booted up her computer, ready to take on the challenges of her new role. This was a new chapter, one where the woman in the mirror and the woman in her soul could be the same person. The day passed in a blur, and Alina slowly found her rhythm. Most of her coworkers greeted her without issue, offering help as she got up to speed with the company's cloud infrastructure. Maxim took her under his wing, guiding her through the code base and making her feel comfortable. By the time the evening rolled around, Alina felt more at ease. She had made it through her first day, but just as she was starting to think that maybe her transition would be easier than expected, a snide comment from one of her coworkers pierced through the calm. "Guess they'll hire anyone these days," a man muttered, his voice dripping with contempt. Alina stiffened, her face flushing as laughter spread around the office. She glanced over her shoulder to see an older man smirking at her, John Schumann, a senior account executive. Alina gritted her teeth, determined not to let the comment affect her. She had endured worse in the past, working in male-dominated engineering environments. But as the day wore on, John's remarks continued, cutting into her confidence. A few hours later, after John made another transphobic comment, Alina snapped. In a meeting, he mocked her, using her old name and questioning her technical abilities in front of the team. The final straw came when he made a cruel remark about her juggling multiple identities, insinuating that she couldn't keep track of her work. With her patience at its limit, Alina stood up and confronted John. "My name is Alina," she said, her voice firm. "I've told you that a dozen times already. My identity as a woman is not something I am juggling for fun. It is who I am." The room fell silent as she faced him down, her eyes locked on his. "I've been nothing but professional and respectful, while you've gone out of your way to undermine and mock me. You're a grown man, threatened by a transgender woman who knows more about tech than you." John was taken aback, but Alina pressed on. "We are colleagues, and I am the technical lead on this project. You will treat me with the decency I deserve, or I will go to HR and have you removed from this team. Your choice." As she returned to her desk, the weight of the confrontation settled on her. She was done being passive. She wouldn't let anyone disrespect her again. And as the days went by, she continued to work tirelessly, determined to prove herself and show that she belonged. Despite John's continued efforts to belittle her, Alina remained focused, correcting him when necessary and pushing forward. She was not just a transgender woman. She was a brilliant coder, and she wasn't going to let anyone make her feel otherwise. Alina had always been confident in her skills, but that day, something inside her shifted. As she sat in the meeting room, she had just made a bold stand in front of her colleague, John, who had been disrespectful to her. When the room went silent after she locked eyes with him, Alina felt the tension in the air. She refused to be the first to break the gaze. John, irritated, muttered under his breath and stormed out, leaving the others in shock. As the door slammed behind him, Alina felt a wave of satisfaction. She had stood her ground and defended her identity in front of the whole team. It was victory. For the first time since her transition, Alina truly believed that she could succeed, not just in her career, but in the world, without apologizing for who she was. Her shoulders squared. A slow grin appeared on her face as she sat back down, her confidence soaring. The project discussion resumed, and Alina led the meeting with poise, answering questions and assigning tasks with authority. The atmosphere shifted. Her teammates who had once avoided eye contact now looked directly at her, nodded, and took notes. When the meeting ended, several of them pulled her aside to express their admiration for how she had handled the confrontation. With John, Maxim, with a regretful expression, apologized for not intervening sooner. He admitted that they had hoped John would just lose interest if they ignored him. Alina accepted the apology gracefully, but made it clear that she knew the importance of standing up for herself. Maxim, with a warm smile, reassured her that they had her back from now on. He said, "You're one of us now." Those words filled Alina with warmth, a sense of belonging she had longed for. She had always feared that her identity would be a barrier, but now, with people like Maxim and Anna in her corner, she was starting to believe in the possibility of building a future in tech on her own terms. Over the following weeks, Alina poured herself into her work, tackling technical challenges with enthusiasm without John's taunts weighing on her. She found herself thriving, collaborating seamlessly with her team. John, though still distant, became less hostile, keeping his interactions with her brief and professional. That was an improvement, and Alina took it as a win. The true highlight was her growing friendship with Anna, a senior developer on the team who had become her mentor. Anna offered guidance on both technical and personal matters, and they bonded over coffee, sharing stories about the challenges of being women in tech. When Anna invited Alina to a dinner with other transgender professionals, Alina eagerly accepted, excited to meet others who could relate to her experiences. At the cozy Italian restaurant, Alina felt nervous meeting new people but found herself at ease thanks to Anna's calming presence. The group was warm and welcoming, and Alina was pleasantly surprised to learn that Anna had been singing her praises to her friends. As the evening unfolded, Alina felt a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. She didn't have to justify herself or explain her identity. The conversations flowed effortlessly, and for the first time in a long time, Alina felt comfortable in her own skin. The following Monday, Alina arrived at work with a renewed sense of confidence. She even greeted John with a polite good morning, which was met with a surprisingly gruff but respectful response. John's reaction left Alina puzzled, but in a good way. She had made an impact, and it felt good. That morning, Anna approached her with exciting news. She was being promoted to team lead for an upcoming AI project. Alina was stunned but overjoyed. Anna explained that Alina's technical skills and consistent high-quality work had earned her the role. Despite her initial doubts about her experience, Anna assured her that her fresh perspective and leadership qualities were exactly what the team needed. Alina accepted the promotion with gratitude, feeling a mix of disbelief and excitement. She was ready for this next chapter. With Anna's continued support and her team's backing, the role came with its own challenges, but Alina embraced it with determination and enthusiasm. Over the next few months, Alina thrived as a team lead. She guided her team through complex problems and inspired them with her ideas. The support of her friends, both in and outside of work, bolstered her confidence, and her bond with Anna deepened. When Igor approached her to mentor a new hire, Alina eagerly took on the responsibility, wanting to give back the support she had received. When the new hire, Alex, arrived, Alina immediately connected with them. Alex was awkward and nervous, much like Alina had been when she first started. They shared a laugh over a coffee spill, and Alina reassured Alex that everyone had their struggles, and that was part of the learning process. As she guided Alex through the day, Alina felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had come so far from the unsure person she had once been, and now she was in a position to help someone else find their place in this world. Though the journey wasn't without its difficulties, there were still moments of doubt and prejudice. Alina had learned to face these challenges head-on. With the support of her chosen family, her hard-earned confidence, and a refusal to shrink herself, she had forged her path. Alina had become the person she had always hoped to be, proud of her identity and her achievements. She was no longer the scared, uncertain individual she once was. She was a leader, a mentor, and a woman fully embracing her journey. Smiling at her reflection, Alina felt ready to face whatever came next, knowing that her future was hers to shape. This is where the story ends. I spend hours of effort creating these kinds of stories, so if you're new to this channel, please hit the like button and subscribe my Sissygram Genderbender Stories YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to comment on what you would do if you were in his place. I'm eagerly waiting for your comments, and I personally read all of them. Okay, guys, thanks for joining. And I'll see you in the next story in the next video. Take care and bye.